Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
A good positive sign that we are winning in many aspects of the information war is what this new senator, Ben Sasse, pointed out when he talked about how this is going to work if we don't shut down executive orders. Neither the left nor the right really have a problem with executive orders as long as it's their guy. And so we have to ask, who cares about the rule of law anymore? Does anybody on the left, anybody on the right? We have a new senator, Ben Sasse. He points out that the reactions of the Congress, and I would say also the American public, are just as reprehensible. Their reactions to executive orders are just as reprehensible as Sean Hannity's reactions to Geneva Convention being violated. Here's what the senator had to say.
Imagine President Trump has been propelled into the White House with 300 electoral votes, having won mainly by the force of his personality, by calling BS on this town, and by his promise to get things done by acting unilaterally. The first 100 days are huge. He signs an order that turns the Peace Corps into stonemasons to build the Southern Wall. He shutters the Department of Education, and by executive order, he turns the Department of Interior into the classiest oil company the world has ever known. What happens next? Would those who've stayed silent about executive overreach over the last 7 years suddenly find religion? After years of legislative atrophy, would Congress spring into action and remember its supposed power of the purse? And what about Republicans? After having raged against a supposedly lawless president, would many suddenly find that they're actually okay with a strongman president so long as he's wearing the same colored jersey they are?
And of course, Senator Sasse is saying, do you understand that if you allow Obama to do this, then you may have a president down the road that you don't like, those of you on the left. And we need to understand also with the issues, if you're going to let him dictate by executive order gun control, understand that he or somebody else is going to dictate further NSA surveillance and spying and loss of your property and shutting down freedom of speech. And we don't know which party is going to do that. Maybe both of them will do that. You have to understand the principle. And of course, this is something, and we're going to talk about the Democrat debate later in the show with Leanne McAdoo, but this is something that, again, came up in this last debate with Hillary Clinton saying we need to have some kind of a Manhattan-like project to control the internet, to surveil people. This is a major push by the government. Even after the Ed Snowden leaks, they are still continuing to push for more of your information. So hopefully the people on the left are going to understand that we can't move this way by executive action, that we have to stand for individual rights. Now, one of the ways that this is happening, of course, we had Tim Cook from Apple, the Apple CEO, talked about this back in June. And he said at the time when he was talking to Epic, which is a foundation for honoring electronic privacy, he says, like many of you, we at Apple reject the idea that our customers should have to make trade-offs between privacy and security. We can and we must provide both in equal measure. We believe that people have a fundamental right to privacy. The American people demand it, the Constitution demands it, morality demands it. And I would point out also, his profits demand it. If Apple doesn't stand up for privacy and make sure that they can tell people that your information is private, they're going to lose their sales internationally. And they will also perhaps lose a lot of them nationally, even though the American people are the ones who are the least understanding of the danger that this presents. Now, he repeated these charges this last weekend on 60 Minutes, and he immediately got some pushback. And I want to talk to you about the pushback, but first let's talk about whether or not we can trust Apple on this. Remember, we had the leaks back in September of 2013, part of the Snowden leaks. This was put out by the German paper Der Spiegel. And they showed a series of slides that involved Apple at the time. And what they said, they showed the iPhone. They said, who would have thought back in 1984 that this would become Big Brother? And they show Steve Jobs holding up an iPhone, and that users would willingly pay for it, comparing them to zombies. And so what they're saying is that you are a zombie. You're willing to pay for your surveillance. You don't understand what it's about. You don't understand the implications of it, and you will pay for it. They don't even have to put the Big Brother box in there. You will buy that thing from Apple. And they put Apple at the very center of this. And they also think it's interesting to note that they referred to internet users as quote unquote adversaries. So whether or not Apple is providing backdoors to people, it is important for Tim Cook to say that they don't. And it is important for us to stand behind companies when they do stand up for our privacy. We need to understand that our individual rights are fundamental. Nevertheless, we have a Manhattan district attorney and a U.S. senator, one of the new senators, completely opposite from the new senator that I just talked about earlier. We have a Manhattan DA fires back after Apple CEO defends his stance on app encryption. And again, he said, if the government, this is Tim Cook saying, if the government lays a proper warrant on us today, then we will give the specific information requested because we have to by law. But in the case of encrypted information, we don't have anything to give. Now, why would he say that? This is fundamental for you to understand. Most of the government's surveillance is predicated on the idea that third-party providers like Apple or Google or others who handle your data, the phone companies, that once you turn over that information, once they get that information, those third-party people own that information and they can turn it over without a search warrant because it's their information. If they want to voluntarily give it, they can give it to you. It's not your information, even though they collected it on you, because somehow they're carrying it. So the way to get around this is through encryption, because he can give them the encrypted files, they can have a go at it, but they don't truly have your information except in an encrypted form. That's the only way we can get around this, as long as we've got a court that's going to maintain the legal fiction that when people create dossiers on you, that is something that is really owned by Apple or by Google or by AT&T. It's not. It's not. That's a legal fiction created by the Supreme Court to get around our Fourth Amendment protections. And we need to understand what that is. And we need to understand that when you've got law enforcement people saying things like the company implemented the measure so that it could no longer comply with the judicial search warrants that make the work possible. He says iPhones are now the first computer products in American history beyond the reach of lawful warrants. That's not true. He says the result is crimes will go unsolved. Victims are left beyond the protection of law. And he goes on to point out, and of course, he didn't say this, but a senator said, now we can expect that Apple, Google, and Facebook will become the preferred messaging services of child pornographers, drug traffickers, and terrorists alike. Because, of course, they're the only ones who want privacy, right? Is that right? If you want privacy, you are a terrorist, you are a drug dealer or something. We should ask why the government demands privacy so much. Why their security, their privacy, their confidentiality, their secrets are so important that they will trash all of our rights, all of our property. Maybe they are drug dealers. Maybe they are the terrorists, and we know, in fact, that they are. That is a sad thing. And it gets even sadder. We see that Ted Cruz, it was even implied in the debate that he should be investigated. That's the kind of McCarthyism that we see coming from Marco Rubio, somebody who pushes an unbridled, uncontrolled surveillance state. That's the kind of McCarthyism we're headed down with this kind of insane security state. Now, when we come back, we're going to have Alex Jones breaking down the most recent revelations from Seymour Hersh, backing up everything we have said about ISIS being a creation of the U.S. military.
Knockout is back. If you want a product that has 10 known ingredients that naturally get your body to relax, your brain to relax, so you get deep, restful sleep, Knockout's it. Infowarslife.com. L-theanine, hops flower extract, lemon balm extract, valerian root extract, chamomile flower extract, L-tryptophan extract, melatonin, and more. All organic, all the natural sources. It's the same price as leading brands of melatonin that are 3 milligrams a piece. It has 3 milligrams, the standard recommended dose for an adult. It's got the GABA, so it would probably cost $50 to take all this as separate pills. It's $19.95. You take one or two of these, and it just is really clean, restful sleep is what the reviews are. It's what I've experienced. And it just synergistically puts everything in there. Infowarslife.com. That's Infowarslife.com. Or call 888-253-3139.
You are watching the Infowars Nightly News, which airs 7 p.m. Central at Infowarsnews.com. And your support is helping us defend liberty worldwide.